achieve those movements in Tai Chi. We can achieve those movements in yoga, in dance. There's a multitude of things, but most of us, again, and I put myself in that category, I don't do Tai Chi every day, or I don't dance every day. So I like to think about, well, what's the minimum I need to do to make sure my brain is getting the input it needs so that my body can do what it needs to do, because movement is initiated from the brain. So rather than saying, oh, I need to be stronger, from a neurologic point of view, which is how I see the world, what does our brain need to make our body move well? And that's what these home exercises that we're going to be going over today really are for those in between times. If you did a Tai Chi class in a day, I'm sure you're good. If you danced, you may have gotten some things, but your body may need particular tweaking because you have had an injury, or repetitive movements. Actually, it's an interesting thing with the brain, because the movements we get really good at and can do over and over again, that's an expertise as we get older, but we really need a broader palette of movements, and that takes us making a choice to move differently than just our straight walking and things we do. So that's what we're going to go over today, is what does a fun home exercise program look like, and how do we make exercise in the home fun? And I have a program that I got a very small grant for, that I am teaching this on an individual basis for some people for 5 sessions. So I offered some of that if there's anybody in the JSS community who needs it. This isn't a rehab program. It's more of a health and wellness in 5 sessions, just to kind of individualize it to each person's needs and get some feedback on, you know, if I'm doing this, is this what I need? Like, is this helping me? How do I tell? So that's what we're going to be doing today. And I'm really happy to be presenting. So my first question is movement fun? Do you guys find movement fun? Do you think of movement and exercise the same way? Because oftentimes people say exercise, movement. And we all want to move well in our day-to-day lives. But how do you think about movement? Is it fun to move well?
It's fun if there's music. I like if there's music. And,
yeah.
And that's fun. It keeps me, gets me going. And also, I think doing it with other people makes it much more fun. And yeah, so I went to this movement class, and also when our COVID hit, we had to go online. And this woman, she's absolutely fabulous, but she sits in a room with a beige curtain behind her, and she's alone, and she's doing this. Well, I'm lost. I want to see other people, even if it's on the screen with the Hollywood squares. You know, I want to see other people. You know, that to me is important, and this is very social. What we're doing right now is social. I feel like I'm being fed. So people and music.
Do you remember the original Jane Fonda workout tapes that started the whole workout movement? She always was in front with at least 2 other people working along with her, and then it became a class of 12 people. And so while we worked with her on tape, she had that class, and that made, like you said, at least if you can't have people there, that was the next best thing, to see other people joining along. And she got it.
That's a really good point you're both bringing up about, so movement is something we learn through watching other people. And I'm having so much fun watching my grandson, who's 6 months, how he gets motivated to move because he wants to go to he's learning to crawl. And again, the development, but the real question is, how do we support ourselves to move? And yes, moving with other people, there are little cells in our brain that make it much easier to move when we're moving with others, because we are pack animals. So that's like really important to know, and why it's so great that like L'Chaim has the chair yoga once a week. So, okay, that also sets us up for a question of how do you get that support to keep moving at home and making it fun for yourself? So you can turn on music and have your music. Has anyone tried calling a friend and saying, hey, I need some help. let's do some exercise together, even though we're distanced?
No.
No. Okay.
I do that. I have friends who I walk with every Saturday and usually once or twice during the week too.
Yeah. Those
And
are,
we did go to, there was one outdoor pool open, which was really nice, but that's closing in 5 days, I think. So, yeah.
There's also a tape. I do a Tai Chi tape of Tai Chi, what's called Tai Chi video. It's a 5-minute Tai Chi, but I'm following a video, which feels, like there's someone else there,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's and it starts out with lovely music behind, and the scene is on the ocean at Big Sur, and so it's that's motivational for me.
so, okay, I have another question. After you do movement, so I'm going to say movement versus exercise again, because exercise sometimes we associate it with like we have to go to the gym, we have to go out of our life to move well, and that's not actually how our brains learn. So after you've done movement for 10 minutes or half hour, whatever you choose to do, how do you feel?
Good. I feel good. I feel proud of myself. I'm not sure, I've been exercising for a long time and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But I always feel good, one, for how my body feels, and two, for my discipline to have been able to get through it.
Okay, so anybody else have positive feelings after you move a lot?
Yeah, I don't know if I would say fun, but I would say satisfying.
Okay.
May be very much the same thing.
Yeah.
Satisfying is a motivator.
Yeah. I feel like I've accomplished something, and I've done something good for myself, and that feels good. So rather than laying around, that doesn't feel very good. But this is something it's sort of a gift I'm giving myself, and yeah.
So,
and I like what you said, Andrea, about I had not really thought about movement and exercise being different. That's a new way for me to think about it.
yeah, it can be for people as we age, just there's a lot of misunderstandings about exercise that can be very subconscious barriers because we think we can't do it because we might hurt ourselves, or that looks too hard, and it may be, but it may not be. So starting to think about, are those movement patterns good for me, as opposed to, is that exercise good for me, can open us.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing in the world of motivation and training, because I'm a trainer and a coach, there's often 4 types of personalities that we have that help us to motivate. And we're talking about some of those personalities. So I wanted to share that with you because I think it's kind of interesting, and you ladies and gentlemen may enjoy that. One of the personalities that help us motivate, is referred to, Gretchen Rubin is the source of this, and she's a researcher on behavior change and motivation, but it's a rebel personality. And rebel personalities, they're gonna exercise and do what they wanna do no matter what anybody says. And if you tell them to exercise, they probably won't, just because you told them to do it. But those are the people you see out there in the Olympics, you know, who are, you know, they're just going to do it, and it's got to be their way, and they're going to figure it out. And that's, you know, one type of person. And often that type of person isn't going to be in a class like this. So if you have friends who just get out there and do stuff and they don't wait for anybody, that's how they motivate. Another type of person likes a lot of structure. And once you give that person the structure, they will do it religiously every day. You just set up the structure and they go with it, and it's easy. Therapists love people like that because we can give them a home program and know they're going to follow it to the letter, no matter what. Teachers are often this personality type who they're really good at organizing things, engineers at making structure, and it's just how they motivate, and it's really good. Another type of personality is a questioner. And a questioner is somebody who, if you give them the structure, if you give them a good reason, then they can follow the exercise program. But without a good reason and an understanding of how it's relevant to them, it can be much harder to do the exercise. So that's the third type of personality, you know, that is helpful to know who you are. And the fourth one is someone who is like a pleaser. Like, I can exercise as long as I have other people with me because we do it together, or my trainer told me to do it, when we're doing it to please people. And why it's important to know this about yourself is you can then ask for what you need. So for example, I have a more questioner personality. So I need a structure when I exercise, but I also need to know, well, does this exercise make sense for me for what I'm trying to do? So I can ask the people who are giving me the exercise or helping me learn, hey, I need this. And like we just talked about before, if you're the type of person that needs that support to exercise, then you can call somebody or you can do some of the things we did. So it's helpful to kind of know, hey, how do I tend to roll? And, you know, you might roll differently in exercise versus listening to books or other things. But it's just kind of, again, helpful because then you can ask for what you need and set yourself up to succeed. So any questions about that? Nope. Okay, so let's go on. I guess I'd like to start now and show you, it's a very short sequence for exercise, and I have these exercises on YouTube. So if you had a question, the only one I don't have up in its entirety is the joint circles. That one you kind of need to work with somebody a little bit to figure out what works for your body, but we're going to do a general one. And I'm going to be doing a series of 6 different movements. And I picked these 6 because good movement is kind of triangulates. So eyes, the other part of the triangle is proprioception, which is where are my muscles, my bones, my nerves. That's all giving information into my brain. And then your GPS system, which is your balance system, that's in here. So whenever you're moving, the parts of your brain that are in charge of vision, your GPS and your muscles are all having very fast, very, very fast conversations. So fast that good movement is reflexive. It's not something that you think about. So the more we can make sure that we're kind of honing in on those 3 areas, like we could have really good proprioception, but if our visual skills are not as talking to the brain well, our movement's going to slow down. And the same thing, our balance system, if that's not talking to the brain well, then our movement's going to slow down. Or if we have inflammation at joints, but our eyes and our balance system is good, we're still going to slow down because of the inflammation. So this exercise sequence is set up to talk to those 3 areas and keep them working. So the first one I'd like to do, and I'll just move my screen a little bit, is called eye circles. And I like to use fun things to look at. So this pen is kind of fun. I have some other pens that have faces on it or things like that. So you can make things playful for yourself. And, you know, like Tom Hanks in that movie where he had a Wilson was his ball because he was shipwrecked on an island. So he had a conversation with Wilson all the time. You can have a conversation with your eye exercise. So what we're going to do, if you have a pen by you, let's grab the pen. If you don't, you can use your thumb. You could also draw a little smiley face on your thumb if you wanted to. Again, the point of movement is to make it fun, because if it's fun, you're going to do it. And we're going to do a very simple exercise. There's tons of eye exercises you do, but this one is very basic and really foundationally important. And I'll just wait for Dana to come back.
I'm just looking for a pen.
Dana knows this one, so maybe I don't have to wait for her to come back.
I gotta check my dog. I'll be right back.
All right, Dana knows this one. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a circle, and I'll just talk you through it. We're gonna make a circle with our pen, but what the key with this exercise is you wanna follow the circle with your eyes, but not move your head. And that's one of the things that as we age, we tend to not practice moving our eyes separate from our head. And then our neck starts to do a lot of the work that our eyes should be doing. And once we start that, it becomes very relaxing and we don't have to tighten up so much here. So take your pen and pay attention to, try to keep your chin straight and just move. And I do 2 to 3 clockwise. Okay. And we're just moving. And it's about 12 to 18 inches. And then go in the other direction.
So is there any benefit to go around one way and then the other way? Or should you always go clockwise for 3 times and then counterclockwise for 3 times? Do you know what I mean?
Yes. So as the foundation, before you start moving in other directions, what I like to look at is to make sure your sticky bits are gone. So what's a sticky bit? It's like we don't want to get too high. We start at the foundation movement, we get good at that, and then we can make things a little bit harder and grade it up. So a sticky bit is if you start to move your eyes and you feel that the rate that you're moving is changing, or your eyes are kind of jumpy, you want to really smooth the movement out with your eyes. And once you do that, then you can start to play with and go to more complicated movements. Because most of us, when you haven't been practicing eye exercises, you'll feel it's like your eyes will follow and then they'll just jump, or they'll follow and then they kind of are stick. It's kind of like a cogwheely feeling. It's not smooth. So if you start to notice there's ways you move that are smooth And in those places that aren't smooth, just kind of go back and forth over it to smooth it out. So if you're smooth in both directions, if you want to change it up, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did that feel? Did anyone notice anything?
Yeah, I did. I only do half circles right now because
Because of your eye, that makes sense.
and first I was struggling to do it all the way, but it's exactly as you said. It jumps. It was, it jumps, and then so it takes some concentration to
Right.
really follow it to make it smooth.
Okay, so that's good. So that's what we're working on these foundation, building a good solid movement foundation. And wherever it's sticky, it's called blurred movement maps. And the way movement maps are created when you're 1 year old is the same way they're created when you're 70. You just kind of practice slowly, go over it, and keep building it. Your nervous system, the basic principles of how we learn movement doesn't change as we age. It's learning what to put in so that we keep doing things. Kids do it naturally. As adults, we've kind of learned to slow down. So if we just learn these principles, our nervous system can keep us growing. All right, so the next set of exercises, I'm gonna be demonstrating back here. And let me get I need to just get my trusty platform so you can see me. And we're gonna be doing joint circles. And the reason I work with joints, remember, I'm a questioner, so I'm gonna be explaining everything to you guys, perhaps ad nauseum, because I think it's interesting. The brain pays attention to your joints because it wants to know how much tension and relaxation to send out in signals to the muscles. So we're gonna work the joints to make sure our brains are working really well and know where your body is. The first one is ankle circles, and you can do it sitting. I'm doing it standing because of my logistics. And that's all I want you to do is sitting down, circle 1 foot to the left and to the right. Now notice how as I'm standing, this part of my leg is not doing the circle. So if you're sitting, you don't want this part of your leg doing the movement. It's only the ankle. Okay, so try that on both ankles and do it sitting. Also notice, can you do that and keep your eyes up? Because again, as we get older, we tend to look down more. And if our brain knows where our feet is, we don't have to look down quite as much. And that's good for posture, good for everything. So do your circle, and if it feels kind of coggy, that's okay. Just go slow, and as you will practice these, it will get better. When I first learned this way of moving years ago, because this is a functional neurology approach, I was so surprised how, being in good shape, I still had all these sticky bits. So you can smooth them out at any age. Okay, everyone got those?
Yep.
Okay, the next ones we're gonna do are knee circles. And for a knee circle, let me just get this down so you can see me sitting. We're just gonna go like that. Now, your knee is gonna move, but the upper part of your leg stays the same. So you just lift it a little bit, do a circle, and do a circle in the other direction. Your foot can go with it. It just not a lot of energy. Same thing with the other knee. Circle.
So I have a question.
Sure.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg,
Yes.
in some magazine, said this is what you should do every day. You should put your hands on your knees. I guess you can't see me. And just roll your knees around like 10 times in each direction.
Perfect. Yep. That would be a progression up.
Okay.
Yeah, and it would.
And she holds on to her knees. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be the same thing. Okay.
Just as good, but because I don't know people's balance,
Right.
I wanted to teach it sitting. If you've got good balance and you can do the Charleston, go for it. Okay. All right. The next movement we're gonna do is gonna be, again, you can do this standing or sitting. And we're just gonna let your body kind of roll. And you can, again, just do it sitting in the chair, but pay attention when you're rolling to what's happening in your feet and your hips if you're sitting, because we want to feel very stable. So not having knock knees and rolling, okay, that will change. We want good alignment. Okay, and then the other way, make sure that if you start to feel dizzy, you stop. You should not feel dizzy. You go up to the point of dizzy, if that's for you, and then that's enough for the nervous system. So less is more when we're working to retrain and keep that triangle talking to each other with the nervous system.
Is it better to keep your head straight when you do this?
I would let your head just do what naturally it does. I wouldn't try to control my head. I would pay attention to where your feet are. So you don't want to be like this or like this. Okay, you want a solid foundation. You don't want your knees knocked. That's not a good solid foundation. And you can even feel where your hips are. So you don't want to be far back in doing this like that. That is not quite as effective. And you don't want to be really far forward. So find, in yoga, it's kind of like a mountain pose. So you feel the center. You feel the center with your knees. You feel the center here. And you may do this stretch in yoga. So you're more than welcome to take that exercise. Okay, now the next one we're gonna do is for our shoulders. Okay, and you can put your hands out forward. And what I'd like you to do is raise your shoulders up, pull them back, drop them down, and move them forward. That, believe it or not, is very hard to do when your arms are like this, because most of us don't isolate shoulder and upper arm movement.
Can you do that again?
Sure. I'll even do it this way so you can see it. So up, back, down, forward. Now notice my arm, as I'm coming back, I'm not doing this, right? So when we don't have good maps to the brain, it's harder to do these simple movements. And then I can go in the other direction. Okay? Don't worry if your arms are bending. As you're trying to do this, you're just working the map. So the intention is to clear up that map. Okay. Any questions? As that gets better and easier, it also starts to relieve tension in the neck and the trapezius muscle, because then we can just use the arm to pick things up rather than having to have the shoulders help so much. And the trapezius helps so much for the movement. So shoulder rolls are really good. The next one we're gonna do is elbow circles. So our forearms stay forward. You can cross, come out and down. Cross, out, down. And then go in the other direction. Okay. So again, just 3 to 5, look for the sticky bits, go a little slower, practice over the sticky bits, and that can start to feel really good. Next one, wrist circles. So you're keeping your forearms in one position. We're not going out here. We're moving the wrist, and just try to keep the forearms in one position as much as you can, and then the other. Okay. And then the last one I like to do with the arms is an open shut thumb. And notice when I'm shutting, my thumb comes over my fist because I like to keep a nice curve for writing. Keeping a nice curve in here keeps your hands in a good position. So I put my thumbs outside and then I open and extend my hands. Now, if you have like history of carpal tunnel or strain from a lot of repetitive movements here, this movement can be very good for you. But if you feel tingling or pain here, don't do it. There's other movements that are better, and that's where you should consult a movement person. All right, so just 3 to 5 open shut thumbs. All right, the next one, and this will be the last one that we do in this joint sequence, is to just move the neck around. So we're gonna bend to one side and come back, bend and hold to the other side. Again, opening this up. It's good to look up and just noticing what's happening here. Now, when we look down, there's a way that we can do that that will prevent us from getting that forward head. And what I'd like you to do before you bend down is to imagine a string pulling your head up. Or I have a friend who says, imagine you have a bowl for a giraffe to eat out of on your head, and you have to raise your head up so the giraffe can get the food. That's my PT friend Susan teaches it that way. But make your neck really strong and imagine lifting up. And once you're lifted, then tuck your neck down. And you might feel a stretch all in the back of your neck, but that's working the inside neck muscles and strengthens your head muscles. So as we do this stretch down, just kind of notice. Another thing you can do if you're playful is stick a ball in your chin and then try to lift your head, put the ball there, and just try to hold the ball there for, you know, a few seconds, and you'll feel a really nice workout on the back of your neck. All right, so if you get those movements, oh, one more that I like to do, sorry, is just turn, look to the right, and then again, turn and look to the left. And those are basic joints that you should make sure you're just stretching out and working every day. Okay? Doesn't take long, and again, you don't have to do it all at once. Now, a lot of times people like to work on a little bit of body strength. And the way, once we've warmed everything up, our brain is now ready to get some strength. And sit to stands are one of the nicest, easiest, most convenient exercises we can do. So the third exercise in my exercise series are sit to stands. So a couple things to pay attention to. when you're doing a sit to stand. First off, make sure you're putting your weight, you scoot forward in your chair a little bit so you're not back here, because that's hard to do a sit to stand from back here, okay, mechanically. So you scoot yourself halfway forward in your chair. And then notice where your feet are. So your knees should be kind of over your feet and you feel solid in the center of your feet. And then before we stand up, I'd like you to just play with where your pelvis is. Okay? So we don't want the pelvis back here, that's harder. And we don't want it all the way forward because that's harder. We want it just in the middle. So just play with where you feel your pelvis. And then I like to put my hands on my knees. I'll show you here. This is a no. Get those knees out and solid. All right. If your balance is not so great, some people need to do this and put some of the weight on their arms, but ideally to keep ourselves limber when we stand, we want to use our feet. So put your hands on your knees and then rise up. Good. And then come back down. Now this time when you rise, we're doing all the same things. Notice your feet, you're halfway forward on the chair. Your pelvis isn't forward or back, it's in neutral. Your shoulders and arms are relaxed because this is more of a leg movement, but we're gonna add the breath. So we're gonna take a nice deep inhale and then exhale, relax. And then inhale as you stand up. And exhale, come on down. So we can use our breath to help get a little bit of energy. So let's do that 3 more times because 5 sit to stands a day is great. All right, so do 3 more, inhaling as you stand and exhale as you come down. Good. All right. Everyone got that? Now, here's another one that I think is very important for us to do every day. And I'm going to demonstrate it over here. And that's to elongate our spine because the discs in our spine don't have blood vessels. And whenever we elongate the spine, fluid goes and washes across the discs and gives it nutrients and oxygen that it needs. So every day we want to move the spine. And one of the easiest ways to do that is when you're walking by a door, give yourself a high 5. Right? Every time I walk through the door, high 5. But as you're doing it, you're not pulling yourself up, you're lengthening and then reaching and doing a high 5. So it's easy to remember in the house. I do my high 5, and then when I come out the other way, I do my high 5 again. Again, I'm not pulling myself up from my arm, I'm lengthening and reaching. So for some of my clients, I encourage them to put a hand by their bathroom so they remember to do the high 5. So make it fun. Put little reminders around the house so your house becomes a play gym and you don't have to think about it so much. Okay, so that's the next one in this sequence. So as we're on this theme of lengthening the spine, the next exercise we're going to do is for our love handles. And I call this doing the sloth because sloths do it so well. So that's how I've named this exercise. And what we're going to do, you can do it sitting or standing. depending if you're standing, make sure you have a stable base. But we're going to breathe yourself over. So all the air is going this way. And once you're over, you slowly bring your arm over. That's what sloths do. They slowly bring it over. So you're not pulling. And then slowly exhaling and bringing your arm back down. Okay. So again, breathe open and stretch that arm like a sloth. And then slowly coming back. Let's do one more. Do the sloth, breathing open, exhaling down. Okay. Now we're going to do the sloth to the other side. So breathe.
Okay, so while you're doing that, I just have to say, I have to go. My iPod guy is calling about Surrey waking me up at night. So I'll talk to you later. Thank you. It's been great. And I appreciate it a lot. Nice to meet you all.
Bye, Dana.
Bye-bye. See you again.
So thank you, Dana. And FYI, we're almost done. We have one more exercise after this. So we're going to breathe ourselves open. And I can feel I'm tight today here. So that's going to need a little more attention. And you're going to find sticky bits every day when you start to really breathe into your body and come back. And sometimes when I'm playing the sloth, it starts to look like this. Kind of how a sloth moves. It just feels really nice. But it's the breath, not the pulling of the movement. Okay, good job, everybody. And then the last one for love handles. And again, we're moving the spine in all directions. That's what I'm going for in this exercise sequence. We've moved the spine forward and back. We've elongated it. We're moving it side to side. Now we're going to do a twist. So just turn and look over your shoulder. And then again, pay attention to where your hips are because you don't want to be collapsed and you don't want to be too far forward. Straight, tall spine, and turn and look over your other shoulder. And we can do that 3 times. Very good. Okay, and we're at 11:29. Are you guys okay if we stay 5 more minutes so we can finish up? Okay.
Good.
All right, so that's our twist. So now we've moved our spine in every direction. So we've done a really good job of getting nutrients into the discs, which will help, again, for pain, for muscle tension, feeding the joints and keeping them really healthy. All right, and the last one, so that was, we've done eyes. We've done a lot of focus on proprioception, which is where are my muscles and bones in the body. And the last one we're going to do is for the GPS, because we want to keep our vestibular system used to moving and bouncing. And I don't know about you, but the trampoline is not big on my play places the way, you know, I used to be as a kid, but we still benefit. There's some studies on osteoporosis, for example, that some of that vibration can help keep the bones strong. So how do we do that as we're older? So it's not hard. I want you to stand up, but hold on to something if you have balance problems. If you don't, like either way works. If you don't have to hold on, but if your balance is even slightly wonky, hold on to something. And then what you're gonna do is get your weight onto the balls of your feet and then just bounce. So you can do this in the kitchen. Okay, and 10 to 30 seconds is a good place to start. Because how much do you ever bounce? Like, we don't have subways out here in Wisconsin. When I lived in New York, you'd bounce a lot on the subway, but where we live, we don't bounce very much. And it's really good for your GPS system, keeping your spine tall. And that's it. That's enough.
If you own a Honda Fit, you bounce a lot.
Well, there's a tip.
They're very bouncy automobiles.
That there's a benefit to that. And who knew, right? That your vestibular system needs that. I mean, just think about even like little kids. I remember as a kid, I would love doing somersaults down a hill or tumbling and rolling side to side. Our nervous system needs that kind of input. Again, we're just keeping those signals so that all three conversations can work together to keep our movement. All right, that's the sequence. How do you feel now having done it?
Great. I want to take a nap now.
Go for it.
It needs a little humming while you're working on it.
A little humming.
Yes.
Yep. Humming is an excellent exercise to actually reinforce movement. FYI, it works on a part of the brain that integrates a lot of movement. So while we have the triangle that we hit here, when you add humming to it, it kind of accelerates the conversation, just like music does.
I get stiff in the morning. I have to sit next to the bed and do some preparational exercises to get up and get moving. And I usually do it with humming because I can't reach the radio to turn on the music. And that helps a lot.
That's brilliant. And that's very much how our brains work well. So good for you, Adrian. Like, these are those things you start to learn to trust your body, and you can really keep yourself moving well.
Unfortunately, the songs that you hum stick with you for the rest of the day.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Andrea, do you, when you have done classes, or you suggest people to set up their own program at home, do you have people use music, a favorite music, or turn it on the radio? Or
Yep. Yeah, I think music is so important because movement needs to be fun.
Mm-hmm. So just having something in there.
Yeah, anything you like. Yeah, I mean, people will ask me what kind of music, and I'll say something that makes you feel good.
Yep, good advice.
I have music I cook by, I have music I clean by, I have music I get angry with, I have music, I have music that I meditate to. So music is a wonderful facilitator of easy movement.
Especially going to sleep. I find that I need that to really kind of bring me down.
Yeah. Yeah, music to sleep by. And that's been proven. I mean, science is catching up with a lot of the things we intuitively know. But then when we kind of honor that and do more, then it makes it easier. So, yeah, those are the basics. And you can check out my YouTube channel if you want a review. I have all 6 of those exercises up on YouTube. It's free.
What's the address on that?
You know what? I'll send it to you. Oh, I could put it in the chat. That's right, because Marilyn may not have it. And
Andrea, I'm going to send out the link that you sent me for people who couldn't be here. So
right.
If you want to send me something else, whatever else you want to send me, I can attach it.
Oh, great.
Sorry. That link is what I was referring to. So,
Okay, the same one that you sent me?
yeah.
Okay.
Hold on, I can get there, youtube.com. I can show it to you. I'll pull it up on the screen. Give me a second here.
See if this will work.
Okay. Then share my screen. I'll just share the screen here. I have lots of exercises. This sequence is on how to set up a fun exercise program. So there's a playlist that you can look at, and it's this one, how to set up a home exercise program.
Hi everybody, Andrea Carter.
Okay, and you just go through and look at the exercises on the playlist till you find the one you want. And they're in order, the same order that we did today. So you can see that like here on the screen. Okay. I'll copy the link. Okay, that copied. And then I think I can put it in the chat now. Let me stop the share, and there you go. So that will take you to the first, the explanation in the playlist, and then you can just go down to the other 6 things. And as I said, the joint circles, I only demonstrate ankle circles just because I don't know in general people's abilities. So ankles, you get a big bang for your buck. If you do nothing else, if you're a little stiff or you're afraid of your balance, do ankle circles every day, and you'll be amazed to see the benefit, because then the brain really knows where your feet are and will relax a lot and let you walk easier, and you won't start having to focus on the ground as much. And ankle circles are just so good. So that's why I demonstrated that one. Well, thank you, everybody.
Oh, thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. Thanks, everybody. Nice meeting y'all.
Yes.
We'll send, we have a recording of this, so I can make that available too. And I'll send it to you, Andrea, too, just in case you want to send it or use it for anything.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Paul. This has been fun.
Yeah. Bye, honey. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Andrea.